Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast, the only podcast where there's us three people, who includes me. I'm Johanan. Hi.
It's me, Casualty CDG, co-host of Fresh Out the Box and Fresh Out the Podcast. That's where we are here now. We talk about movies, streaming shows, and video games. But if you're more of a tabletop role-playing kind of person, and you like to use your imagination...
Yo, right here, this guy.
Join us at Fresh Out the Box every Thursday and Friday. We're playing tabletop role-playing games.
Can I do that? Can I be on there?
Yeah, you can come.
Okay.
Drew, you can come by too if you want to.
Thank you so much for the invite. To me, I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen, and this is episode 97 of Fresh Out the Podcast, and we're going to start out Fresh Out the Box with Fresh Out the Box Office, because Barbie and Oppenheimer,
hold on, I just don't want to get confused. Is Fresh Out the Box Office, is that where is that like movies?
I just did that right now on the spot. Well, I was specifically, I guess, movies in general, but I'm actually going to talk about the box office here.
Man, we should start a podcast.
Barbie and Oppenheimer just continuing to steamroll the box office. Gary and I discussed Barbie last week because we had both seen it. Jahan, you now have also seen Barbie. I guess before I get into the box office side of it, what'd you think of Barbie? Did you enjoy your time at the theater?
I loved it. I was laughing really, really hard for a lot of it. They really called out a lot of people. And it was really, really funny. I don't know, man. It was pretty good. And I saw it not opening weekend, and it was still a full house. So that's probably going to feed into what you're about to say in the box office. It was packed.
Well, Did you take my advice and go sit in the second row and just really take it in?
I sat in the front row at Alamo, and so
really?
It was a very pleasant experience.
Heck yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I sat right in the front.
We're about the front of the theater. I'm telling you, man, we're going to change the world.
All about that front butt.
It made $93 million domestically in its second weekend. Which, just for clarification, that's more than it's more than the new Mission Impossible made in its opening weekend. It's more than Oppenheimer made last weekend on its opening weekend. Although Oppenheimer is holding strong too. Oppenheimer made $46 million at the box office this weekend, which is almost about what it was projected to make in its opening weekend. So these movies are just continuing to dominate and be kind of the cultural focus, and they probably will for a while longer, just because I don't think that there's very much on the horizon that's going to dethrone these. We just saw that this past weekend a new Haunted Mansion movie came out, and it only opened to like $24 million, which is pretty low for a pretty the budget for this movie is pretty surprisingly high. They put a lot of stake into that, and it has disappointed. So,
why wouldn't this movie come out around Halloween?
That is the question that everybody's asking, and to be honest,
all right, I'm not alone.
Not at all. It would have been a great idea. This would have been a great Halloween weekend movie. It's a really great kind of intro horror for young people that maybe are maybe too scared to go see the new Exorcist movie that comes out in the fall, but want something with a little tinge of the spookies. You could definitely see Haunted Mansion.
Horror scares me. I have an overactive imagination, and I just don't like the genre. It gives me the willies, man. It keeps me scared. I probably wouldn't have gone to see Haunted Mansion either way. I'm gonna be honest with you, but there is like a 20, maybe 30% more chance I would have gone to see it closer to Halloween if I was just like, yeah, let's go see something that's not gonna scare the crap out of me. I might have, definitely not in August.
See, I also have an overactive imagination, but I like to feed the devil the claws at the back of my eyes
I
because
love that for you.
the nightmares that it gives me fuels my creativity. So,
I love to hear that. That is so great.
yeah.
So a lot of these Disney releases this year, including The Little Mermaid, Elemental actually started off disappointing, but it's kind of had decent legs at the box office. So it's actually not a disaster by any means. But even like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania disappointed at the box office. Little Mermaid really was surprising because that was one that people thought would make like $1 billion, and it has basically made half that.
How are the legs on that one?
I was worried that Little
boy.
Mermaid might bomb just because the other live-action Disney movies haven't been great. So the fact that they didn't bomb, I would consider that a success as a middle-aged outsider who it wasn't targeted for.
Did either of you watch Strange Worlds, the animated Disney movie that came out last
Nobody
holiday time?
knows what you're talking about. Nobody saw that movie.
That's the problem. Which one of the biggest bombs Disney's had in recent memory?
They should have
And
put
now
a
Haunted-
commercial somewhere at some point. That would have helped.
My analysis of the it's a good point. My analysis of this is it just kind of feel like, have we gotten to the point where the consumers, like even the people that went to go see Beauty and the Beast, the live action one in theaters, and they went to go see Aladdin and The Lion King, these live action quote unquote versions of them in theaters, are people finally just like, nah, I'm out, I'm over it, I'm done, like I'm not. I saw Jungle Cruise 2 years ago. I'm not going to see Haunted Mansion. Like, is that where we're at? Like, they just see through it and they're like, no more Disney cash grabs for me. I want more cool original stuff. Or
Go through that list and tell me which one of those was good. Pick one.
Right.
There's
There
only
have been-
one that was good, and it was Jungle Book, and it ruled. And then the rest had been pretty lackluster.
And then, I mean, and this is the second Haunted Mansion, and I saw the first one in theaters, and it was bad.
I watched the first one in preparation for the new one because I had not seen it. And I'm like, yeah, it's an Eddie Murphy movie I haven't seen. Yeah, it's not good.
So you guys are telling me that you liked the first one so much you went and saw the second one?
No, I only saw the first one.
So just only Drew is guilty of this. He watched
know-
the first one and said, "Let me go to theaters and see the sequel or the reboot, as it may be."
I'll talk more about the new one later because basically I had really low expectations and I thought it was actually decent. But yeah, the first one that Jahan's referring to is like atrociously bad.
So bad.
I tried to be optimistic while watching it, and then things just kept happening throughout that was making me more and more negative on the whole experience. And I try not to say these kinds of things often because making movies is hard, right? Like, obviously it's hard, or else every movie would be good. Like, if it was easy, all movies would be good, right? Hypothetically. And I know that there's talented people that work on these things, but I was watching the 2003 Haunted Mansion movie with Eddie Murphy and was like, I could have written this. I could have written this while extremely intoxicated. Like, I could have written this no problem. It's just like the most basic premise for like, what do you do with the Disney Haunted Mansion movie? I don't know. How Eddie Murphy's a real estate agent and somebody calls him and says sell this house, and then he goes to the house and it's haunted. Like, that's pretty much it. There's some mumbo jumbo with his wife and resembling this guy's wife. It's just a whole mess and it's not good.
I do like gumbo, so that sounds good.
Gumbo? When did
Yeah,
I say
didn't you-
gumbo?
Didn't you say mumbo gumbo, or did you say jumbo gumbo?
I
think you're
said
hungry,
gumbo,
Gary.
Jumbo.
We've talked about this.
Oh boy.
Oh, that's right. Eat before the podcast.
Eat before the
not during.
podcast.
Jahan, when you went and saw Barbie, were there still people like women dressed in pink and all that kind of still kind
There
of
was
doing the
still
themed
pink.
outings?
There was still pink. The
Did you wear pink?
I did not wear pink because it was kind of an impromptu thing where like we were already out, and then like I convinced Jenny. I was like, "Yeah, let's go see a movie," and like because she's been kind of.
I didn't wear pink, but I wore like flowers. I wore a bunch of flowers and like a blue bathing suit that was really bright and floral. So I wore like bright blue and floral. So I thought that was the closest I could do. I don't actually own a lot of pink.
I don't own a lot of pink either, but hey, we're all pink on the inside, so
That's what matters.
so that's what matters. But yeah, it was. I really enjoyed it, man. I was laughing a lot. A lot of the things really made me laugh very hard, but the ones that stick out are I wanna push you around, dude. When they were playing the guitar, dude, I was dying. And then when they panned out on the beach and they were all playing the guitar, I couldn't breathe, dude. I could not breathe. I was crying. And then when they were deprogramming them, and they were deprogramming the Pulitzer Prize winning Barbie, and she says, "I don't know what happened. 1 minute I was a Pulitzer Prize winner. The next minute I really cared about the release of the extended Snyder cut of Justice League." I died, dude. I died, man. They were throwing so much shade, dude. They were calling people out left and right. I heard
a good line. I forgot that line. That's a good one.
I heard stories of toxic men standing up during America Ferrera's monologue in the theater telling her to shut up. And so, like, it was just like, I don't know, man. It was so gratifying. The movie was so gratifying. It is it's a masterpiece of. There's a lot of great. It's a very great feminist movie. But like they were smart with their marketing. They made it very clear this movie's for everyone to enjoy. If you can't enjoy this movie, odds are you're a dick. But it's just I enjoyed it a lot, man. I liked even the Mattel parts. I thought were really funny. I felt like after she escaped, though, like maybe they could have like it was just kind of tacked on at that point, but it was fine. The Ken battle where they were play fighting was hilarious. And then also all the Kens, man, that was like one hell of a cast. We have friggin' the guy from
Liu?
Yes,
Shang-Chi?
Yeah, Shang-Chi. We have Shang-Chi. We have Gravik from the new Skrull Secret Invasion show. The main villain from there is one of the Kens. And then you have obviously Ryan Gosling. And then I don't know if you guys knew who the blonde guy was, the bleach haired black guy, but he is actually set to be the next Doctor in Doctor Who, which is
I did not know that because I'm not a giant nerd. That's really cool.
I thought that was Cisco because anytime I see a black guy with white hair, I think about the thong song.
You mean the Platinum God? Yeah, the Platinum God. Yeah, we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, man, it was just so good. Go watch Barbie if you haven't seen it. It's a great movie. So
yeah, even like I forgot to when we were talking about it, I forgot to say from minute one, it's a hit. Like when it starts with like the monotone sort of color with the little girls with their baby dolls, and they all start smashing the baby dolls like right out there, like before it's even Barbie. When it's just the intro to the movie, it had me laughing. Just minute one, what an absolute hit. We were posed an interesting question this week that, Jahan, I don't think we got to hear your answer, but Drew and I got to see each other's answers. Do you think they will make a Barbie sequel, and do you think they should?
I don't think they need to. I don't know what they would do with it. At the end of the movie, she's kind of done. They would have to do a new cast. Because of the way the story went, I feel, unless she's like having trouble being human or whatever, but it's just those sequels are never that good. Like it would be an afterthought. I feel like they should just move on. But
okay, but going off what Gary's question is, we're not saying would a sequel be
he
good.
Definitely answered the second part. He answered would it be good.
Okay, but yes, there probably will be a sequel because it made so much money. Yes, you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was, do you think they will, and do you think they should? So you answered the second part. No, you don't think they should. But we all pretty much agree. It was so successful that I think, Drew thinks, you think, that they'll probably make another Barbie.
Probably
And
make
I will
another
make it. I'll make it a fresh prediction, just so we can see it again in the future and talk about it.
Already had it pulled up. I was ready for this.
I'll make it a fresh prediction. I will say, and you guys, looks like you're nodding heads in agreement. We think there will be a Barbie 2. The Fresh Out the Podcast thinks there will be a Barbie 2.
Yeah.
And I'm with you guys. I don't think it'll have the same director. I don't think it'll have the same cast. I think they're going to try a lot of the same jokes and a lot of the same gags, and they're just not going to work, and it's going to be a cash grab and not great. And we'll see. We'll see if that's what happens.
Yeah, when Gary and I were asked this question initially, I said, yes, absolutely there will be a sequel, but probably without Greta, which is too bad. But yeah, right now it kind of seems like the runway is open for this movie to hit $1 billion. Like, I think it very well could.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Actually, let me look at this. Let me do this live while we're talking on Box Office Mojo.
Much as I like the movie, like doing that well, like I feel like that's going to hurt the strike, and I don't want that. So it's.
Let's see. Let me see here. Okay, it has made 366 million domestic.
Jeez.
How much has it made internationally? That is what I want to know.
That's a very high domestic number.
They make it. Oh, okay. Is that really it? No way. Worldwide, 795 million.
Yep, it's probably going to hit $1 billion.
Yeah, if it's made that in 2 weeks, it's going to hit $1 billion because I think that the new Ninja Turtles movie actually looks really good and looks pretty fun. But I mean, that's an animated movie, and as far as kids will be interested in it, probably adults too. I don't know. I just don't see it having like the Super Mario effect. Like, it'll probably do just fine, but I don't think it's going to do gangbusters. I also don't think Jason Statham and the Meg 2 are going to get in the way of this either. Like, I could see Barbie topping the box office for a third week in a row.
Okay. Are there 2 Megs in the Meg 2? Because I saw a poster that had the Meg about to eat a plane.
I believe there are multiple Megs in the Meg.
The plane was tiny, and then I saw it about to eat Jason Statham on a jet ski, but like it's the same size in relation. And I was like, oh boy, I think they just messed up the scale of this creature. But maybe there's an even Meg out there.
I feel like the whole point. I feel like at the end of Meg 1, they're going to be like, it wasn't even trying to kill us; it was running from something. And then it's an even bigger Megalodon.
Oh, that is good. Have you seen the trailer for this? The trailer for the Meg 2 was on the Xbox live screen, and like if you watched it, you could win a blah blah blah. So I went ahead and watched it, and it starts with a Meg eating a T-Rex. Like the T-Rex is running down the beach and it eats something out of the water, and then the Meg comes up and eats the T-Rex's entire head and like flails it back and jumps back into the ocean. And I'm just that. If that would have been the movie and would have all been like prehistoric, I would be about it. As soon as I saw Jason Statham, I was like, no. But I would watch a Meg eat T-Rexes. I would love to watch Jurassic Park without people. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I actually watched the first Meg, and the premise is amusing.
I remember watching the first Meg because it was the first movie that I saw with that AMC A-List subscription when I had that. It was right after the collapse of MoviePass, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to do the AMC subscription, and that's the first movie I went and saw at an AMC with my subscription.
So I don't want to say this is 100% right because it's been a while since I've seen it. But Gary, there's an underwater, you know how there's underwater currents?
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the underwater currents is just so strong that it creates this separation between like upper and lower sea, and the Meg up until now hasn't been able to get through. That's why no one's ever seen one. But then these people
ocean that's underneath our ocean.
Yeah, he's in the sub-ocean.
Of course he is.
Until man meddles too much, and then
that tracks.
Yeah, you're right, Jahan. Like, I remember this loosely, and they're weird high-tech subs, and like they're able to get down there, and then somehow the Meg follows them back out, and then the rest is history. And
Well,
I remember
that's what happens when scientists go asking too many questions and pushing too far. Then now you got megalodons,
See,
and that's what's happening with global warming.
I don't-
It's megalodons doing it.
creature features don't have to be that good to be good movies. But damn, I don't know, man. I don't know.
As soon as you put Jason Statham in something, you're just like
You
just
guarantee that I'm gonna
automatically-
watch it.
You're docking yourself like 50 points. You're just like you're shooting yourself in the foot. He's not a good front man. He's not exciting. You know, he's sort of funny, but he's like sort of cringy and flat. I don't know. No.
Is that why
Who
the highly
told
anticipated Dungeon Siege movie did so badly?
Who told people to keep casting him? He's not a front man.
Can I make another fresh prediction while we're here and just kind of on the subject?
I literally need you to do it.
There's gonna be a Meg 3. Is that your prediction?
I don't know about
I'll
that.
take those.
I was
I'll
just
take those chips.
as we were going back to like Barbie and Oppenheimer at the box office and what could slow them down. Like you have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Meg 2, and then and that's really it. And I was looking ahead and I saw on August 18th, I was reminded that Blue Beetle comes out, which that's in a little over 2 weeks. Blue Beetle comes out, and my prediction at this point, and it's not the boldest prediction by any means, but I think there are some people excited for it. I think Blue Beetle is going to be a huge flop. I think it is not. I
How
think
do you think it performs in relation to like The Flash and Black Adam? Do you think it does better, worse, or like comparable?
worse. Both of those movies, the Black Adam made upwards of like 67 million. I think the Flash ended up making like 55 million. I think Blue Beetle's going to struggle to make 30. Like Blue Beetle's going to do Shazam 2 numbers, I think is kind of what I'm thinking. We'll see when it gets closer and what it's tracking. The only big opening against it is Strays, which is the new it's like the one with the dog. I don't know if you've all seen the trailer. It's dogs and Will Ferrell voices one of them. It's like an R-rated comedy.
Yeah, it's
like
rated R, Homeward Bound. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Uh,
So I'm thinking that Blue
everybody lining
Beetle.
up to see that one. You guys big Homeward Bound fans. Wish there was more
I
cursing.
did like Homeward Bound, but
Love Homeward
that does
Bound.
not mean that I'm gonna like this movie.
But if the Flash only made 55 million, and that, aside from the Ezra Miller of it all and the press and everything, the Flash is at least still a well-known comic book character. Blue Beetle is not, and this is a cast of relatively unknowns. And right now with the SAG strike, I don't know who's going to be able to promote it, and it doesn't look like they're pushing its release date. So I don't know. I think this movie is gonna kind of be dead on arrival, and that does not, let me be clear, I don't think that speaks to the quality of it. It might be great. I hope it is great.
You did not say it was going to be bad. You
I just
never
think
said
from
it was going to be bad. You just
strictly
don't think
from
it's
a
going to
financially, I think that it is going to be a pretty big disappointment.
It would be hard pressed to be worse than the Flash. I feel like it's going to be good, at least to the point where I love Blue Beetle, so I'm excited to see that.
Are there a lot of sleepers out here, Jahan? Are there a lot of Blue Beetle fans? Because I think I might go see Blue Beetle.
I'm a Blue Beetle fan. I don't know.
I know you are.
I can't speak
I don't
to
have a
the Zeitgeist of it all, but I feel like he has some following, and because of shows like Young Justice, like he's been brought more into the mainstream, but still not the mainstream. This movie could pull him there. I just think as long as he doesn't move so quickly that they have to use terrible CGI to animate his scenes, that we might be okay.
I'm looking ahead again at just what movie I think will actually make a financial impact at the box office. The Nun 2, maybe. Like, I don't think it's going to do gangbusters, but I think it'll do fine just because horror is pretty reliable. But, I'm looking ahead, and I don't see anything until maybe Dune that would do really, really well. Yeah, Dune Part 2 in November. And then the Marvels is after that.
I'm looking forward to November. I'm a big fan of Thanksgiving and snow and food. Dune can make the list. I'll check out Dune
There's
2.
something that hits
can't
right about
wait.
movie theaters in November. Like going to the movies in November around when you're geared up for the holidays, something about it just hits right.
I can't wait for it to just get cooler, man. It's been 100 degrees for like a month here in Houston. So
It's just gonna get hotter every summer until we all die. Okay, let's go to the next thing.
We did actually talk about that topic for a lot longer than I expected, but I enjoyed it. Yeah. So next, going to fresh off the press in the news department, going with my fresh out the puns today. This I actually wanted to talk about because A, it's relevant news, but B, on our very first episode of Fresh Out the Podcast, the very first episode, one of the pieces of news that we covered was Nintendo had announced their OLED version of the Switch at that point. And I remember that was disappointing to a lot of Nintendo fans because the rumors up to the reveal of that console was that we might be seeing like a true not a next gen console or like a new console, but just we were going to get like a Switch 2.0. Like we were really going to see a Switch Pro, as they say, like a truly better hardware wise version of the Switch, or at least an upgrade, similar to when the Xbox One, I believe, upgraded to the Xbox One X, not the Series X, but when they did the One X upgrade. Last, that didn't happen. We got the OLED version of the Switch, which hardware-wise was the same. It just had a slightly bigger OLED screen. It was a slick-looking Switch, but that was really it. But now the news has come out that Nintendo, and this is according to how IGN reported it, because I looked for clarification on this. They have said they will release their next-gen console during the second half of 2024. According to a report. So basically, a year from now, we will be really close to the release window of a new Nintendo console. And they had said all that IGN has about this is that development kits for the unannounced new console are now with partner studios. And apparently, it can still be used in portable mode like the Switch. We'll have an LCD screen as opposed to an OLED screen in order to keep costs down, and it'll still have a cartridge slot for physical games. But we don't know anything else. We don't know if Switch games will be backwards compatible. We don't know anything. And I wanted to... It's funny, I'll eat my own words on this because sometimes when we talk about the superhero movies, I kind of get annoyed with all the endless speculation, whatever. But this, I want to open the doors for speculation. I want to talk about what we would want to see, what we don't want to see. Is it the right time? Is it the wrong time? All these kinds of things. I'm interested to pick your brains and see what your thoughts are on the future of Nintendo hardware.
Higher quality controllers, please. No more crappy little court case stick drift bullcrap. Those controllers are not made for sustain. They're not made to sustain anything. They're just made to barely work until you buy something else to work instead of your controller. I hope that whatever they release has a good controller.
that's fair. Yeah, I mean, as far as what I want, backwards compatibility is a big thing for me. Please let me keep my Switch library. I'd be kind of put out if I wasn't able to. It seems like, I mean, consoles need to start letting that happen. Like, just let us keep our games. What are you doing? It's all right there. It's not really a big deal, on your end. That'd be my main thing. And also, it has to be different enough from the Switch. I don't want Switch 2.0 at this point.
That's what I was going to ask. That's kind of what I was going to get to is like, I feel like when I hear Nintendo new console, I do kind of perk up. I get excited about it. But the OLED announcement was such a disappointment, at least for me personally at the time, that I am now seeing this news and I'm like, okay, maybe I need to keep expectations in check because I do kind of feel like this might just be a Switch 2.0. Like it's going to be a very similar design, hopefully with better controllers, as Gary mentioned, but with a new processor, maybe a 4K screen, and it'll be able to be more compatible with some of the next gen games that are coming out on, the Series X and PS5.
Cloud gaming is like a no-brainer, right? It'll have cloud gaming. You'll be able to play your crap anywhere, probably. You won't need your. I mean, that would be, to me, if you're releasing a next-gen system and it's a handheld, I can't see, like you guys are saying, if it's just going to be a Switch 2.0, I can't see them releasing it without some form of cloud gaming working splendidly. Because Xbox has got their cloud gaming working now, where you can play Deep Rock Galactic on your phone in a tent on top of a mountain while you're camping. And Nintendo needs to bring it.
The thing that with playing the Switch now, like having just recently played some Metroid Dread, having just played some Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, is when you're playing games on the Switch, for me personally, I'm a console gamer at home. I very rarely play my Switch in handheld mode, and I know I'm kind of in the minority there. I feel like a lot of Switch users use theirs in handheld mode a lot. But for me, when I'm sitting there and I'm playing it on a big TV, I do not sit there and notice, differences or I don't feel like it is lacking anything compared to the newer consoles. Like Nintendo games just work really well and they still look good because they have a highly stylized art style. So you don't really notice that like the graphics aren't as good or they're not in 4K or something, because they are still able to make their stuff look really pretty. And the Switch, for whatever reason, to me, it doesn't feel like a dying console. Like, it still kind of feels like it's in its prime. New Switch games are always still really good. So there's a part of me that's like, oh, maybe I do just want like a little bit of a bump in quality for the Switch and have all these games be backwards compatible. But then at the same time, like, I do get excited for the idea of a new console or something a bit more, more than just a half step up or something of the sort.
Nintendo
I don't know. I
has,
feel like
you know,
I've
for
of two
years-
minds about it.
For years they've done this sort of like silly themey crap where, first it was the shaky, you get your stick and you swing your stick around your house and hooray, your controller's a stick now. And then they kind of got rid of that, and then they were like, hey, look at this camera, you get the camera's watching you, and Xbox tried to copy it and got their Kinect and everything, and then that whole thing kind of faded out. The using your system as either way, a system or a handheld, putting it into a dock, I think that's just good design. And I really think that Nintendo's onto something there. But they always have some kind of themey crap attached to whatever they're doing. And I wonder if there's going to be some themey, goofy gag attached to this as well, where they're trying to make a new trend or set a record and they release some silly hardware.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of where I was heading to, because I want to see what the next thing is, because it sounds like they're going to keep this gimmick, but they're going to, hopefully they would add a new one.
And everyone should adopt the gimmick too. It's a good gimmick.
It's a good gimmick. Yeah, I like the docking a lot. The Switch is a great console. It is probably. Somehow they managed to make a console that's not just a PC. It's not a PC. Xbox and PlayStation, those are just PCs that are like limited and pre-built. But this is a like actual honest to goodness console. It has the feel. It's different. It has a different feel. But I would like to see what they would do next as a gimmick. I would also, I don't know if I'm in the minority here, but I feel like it would be pretty easy for them to implement with Switch-like console, some form of virtual reality, because they already have, like, you can buy the VR kit. I have it downstairs, and like you can actually slide your Switch in there, and you can play some minor VR stuff. I would like to see that expanded on, maybe, or something new that I haven't thought of. Something different. I don't know. I'm interested to see. I have a lot of faith in Nintendo. They haven't really done me too bad in the past, but
we're seeing a lot of success too with like the Steam Deck, which is kind of a similar
Steam Deck
design,
did really well, yeah.
but it's a lot stronger, and it's keeping up with PC releases and things. So it's like, is that just going to be the next Switch? Is it's going to be like maybe a little bit beefier, can handle more things, but it's still Nintendo at its core? And I'm like, I'm not necessarily opposed to that. I just kind of feel like when the OLED came out, I was interested in it, but there was no part of me that was ever like, I'm going to drop $300 or whatever it is for this. Like, my Switch works fine. But if this is a big enough leap that I can justify, buying a new console, then I'll do it. There are some things that would be cool, like even if it is a beefier one, it'd be cool if the same dock worked, or like that. Now I could have two docks if my old
cool.
Switch dock worked with the new one. Now I don't know if that's possible with the old dock and with like if it has 4K capabilities or things like that. I don't know. I think also that Nintendo has put enough time and effort into their Nintendo Switch Online at this point and accounts and everything. They would just be straight up stupid to not incorporate that and let that stuff switch over easily.
Yeah.
Switch over.
And I'm already
to the new
annoyed with the fact that I know they're not going to let you bring your controllers over. Because like right now, I really want a Pro controller, but I'm like, it's probably the end of the life cycle of the Switch. I'm not going to get one now and have to buy a new one when the new one comes out. I really want one, but now is just not a good time. And then also, I mean, I'm sure you heard me talk about, I had a Diablo 3 Switch that was stolen. It was a big bummer. I started using my old Switch again, which I bought back from my brother, but I wanted to get an OLED, but because I knew this new console was kind of looming, I was like, maybe I'll just wait, see what happens, instead of getting an OLED, because I wanted the Tears of the Kingdom OLED really bad. But yeah, none of these I don't think any of these controllers are going to port over. I don't think any of the old stuff is really going to work anymore. Maybe my like GameCube adapter might still work. That'd be cool because it's USB. I really hope I can still use my Amiibos though, because I went all in on Amiibos, Doug.
Tying it back to the Microsoft conversations we've had for the past few weeks, a big part of these court trials has been Microsoft being pretty adamant about working with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty to the Switch or whatnot. But if we're getting a new console from Nintendo next year, maybe Microsoft is already privy to this and they're, are working with them on that if they have the dev kits and everything.
I'm sure they would have had to have been privy to that, right? Nintendo had to have said, yeah, we'll let you know what we're working with. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
And they've had a good relationship. So like you mentioned cloud gaming earlier, like maybe they have a relationship there. I would love to see. Oh, go ahead, John.
There was that rumor for a while that Xbox Live was going to be available, or Xbox Game Pass was going to be available on the Switch.
Right.
And that would be amazing.
And with the next iteration of their consoles, maybe that's more of a possibility if it's a little stronger. I don't know. I would love to see this is going to be the most Drew response ever. I'd love to see like a true achievement system on the new console. Like Xbox achievements or PlayStation trophies. I'd love to see what Nintendo could do in that space just for the collect 'em all gamers like me that I love having little things pop up and tell me I did something good or, pat myself on the back for doing nothing. I'm all about
I like
that
challenges
stuff.
in games like that. It's cool. Especially that other people can see that you did that. It's pretty cool.
I also like achievements, and I like them more than like in-game achievements. I like an in-game achievement, that's fine, but I really want it to be an Xbox achievement so that everyone knows how cool I am. You're exactly right, John.
Yeah, I like the badges. I like badges. I grew up with Pokemon. Give me my gym badge.
When you used to get like swag for your avatar, or you'd get like a picture.
I miss that so much.
Stuff. Oh, that was so cool, man.
They used to get like avatar pictures. You used to get avatar toys. You used to get backgrounds and all kinds of stuff.
It falls through the cracks. Like there's these. It's developed. It's marketed. Everybody loves it, and it just falls through the cracks during an update, and nobody notices. And then it's a few months later, and they're like, "Ah, man, it's too late. We can't bring it back now." I just think that some things just they slip through, and they shouldn't. They need to be beefed back up and brought back.
Yeah. They need to go all in on Mii's, I think, on the next console, the next Switch console. I like Mii's.
Yeah, they need to go all in on those Amiibos also, because Amiibos are sick.
I love Amiibos, dude. I have so many. It's absurd at this point. I have hundreds. Well, I have over 100.
Wow.
If I had to count. I
probably have about 20 or so. Because I went all in when Smash came out. When Smash came out, I bought a whole bunch when that launched in the very first wave of Amiibos. Because I think I have almost all of the very first wave of like 12 or however many came out, and then they kept releasing more Super Smash characters, and then those characters would get amiibos, and then I quickly fell off. But I initially wanted to be all about amiibos, but I just couldn't keep up.
I have more than both of you combined of just Zelda amiibos.
I have Ganondorf and Yoshi. That's all I needed for Smash.
I have so many. But I like collecting them. It's like I've always collected something my whole life, and this is probably my favorite thing I've ever collected because I get to use them. So pretty cool.
Yeah. Any other Nintendo predictions or wants? I feel like we've touched on most of it.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably good.
I feel like the thing is, no matter what you predict with Nintendo, they're always going to swerve you. Like, nobody knows what they're going to do.
Remember
whether it's
last time they were like, look, you can make a car out of cardboard and play a car game, or you can make stilts out of cardboard and be a stilts guy.
What was that called?
A failure? A colossal failure?
I don't think it was a failure. I have a bunch of that stuff downstairs. It's really fun.
My Google search for this is Nintendo cardboard gimmick.
Yeah, that's
it was called Labo.
Oh yeah,
Labo.
Nintendo Labos. Yeah, I have the I have one of the variety kits, then I have the VR kit downstairs. And we made quite a few of them. They're fun to make. And then you can kind of play with them and they're pretty cool. You get to play little games with them. I like the one you put your Switch in the house and you can like put these cardboard apparatuses on there like cranks and buttons and stuff, and like you can shake this little house and stuff happens, and I don't know. It's pretty fun. It was really fun during COVID, dude. I'll tell you what.
Real gimmicky stuff.
It was very gimmicky.
All right, well that is our Nintendo moment of pondering, and we can move on to our fresh picks of the week. And I want to kick that off with the one show that all three of us watched all of. All three of us binged.
This is an absolutely crazy thing that happened. I cannot believe that you binged a show. I can't believe that you binged a show the weekend it came out. I am not surprised that Jahan and I did. I cannot believe that this happened, and
I wasn't going to. So I'll clue in the audience what we're talking. We were talking about the new Twisted Metal series that is on Peacock. 10 episodes that launched, I believe, last Thursday.
And
is when
Drew
they came
is
out.
A golden screen boy. You know, he is not often in the silver screen, and when he does, maybe he'll catch an episode. But he's a weekly guy. You know, he'll watch the episode a week so he can catch up. This is unheard of. I think this is a fresh out the first.
This is true. And when I actually texted Gary and Jahan on Thursday, I was like, "Hey, new Twisted Metal out today. We should watch and talk about it on the pod." And my thought then was like, maybe we'll watch like the first 3 episodes or so. They, whatever. So that day I watched the first episode, and Gary watched it like right around the same time that I did. And we talked about it a little bit then and there, but then the conversation kind of died off. I had only watched the first episode still when I believe Gary messaged on Sunday and said that he had watched it all, that he had finished
on Sunday.
And then Jahan was like, "Me too." Or no, I think Jahan, you might have messaged, "I finished Twisted Metal," and Gary's like, "I finished it too." And then I was sitting there like, "Well, I've only watched the first episode."
So there's something crazy about it. Like you said, maybe we'll watch the first 3, right? There's something about when you get to episode 3 of Twisted Metal, you're just ready to finish the series.
You're ready to watch.
You're
in.
You are in by 3.
All in.
My Monday evening was spent watching 6 episodes of the show back to back to back to back to back. But they're all 30 minutes or less. Like these are bite-sized episodes, and like they're extremely watchable. Like I was flying through them and without issue.
They're fun. You know, in one word, they are fun. The whole show knows that it's fun.
So we won't do like a full spoiler deep dive here or anything, although I don't know if anybody's really like clamoring for Twisted Metal spoilers or trying to avoid them.
You would be surprised. Our viewership tonight has been going up and down, and it's Twisted Metal that people are here for.
Okay,
so you would be surprised that they do want to hear what we have to say.
Well, I'll kick it off to you first, Gary. Actually, because you and I talked about the first episode a bit first, and we can kind
I'm
of
a
start there.
huge Twisted Metal fan. I think I've played every single Twisted Metal game. I'm from the PlayStation era where you'd go spend the night at your friend's house and you'd stay up till like 1 or 2 in the morning playing Twisted Metal. You know, there wasn't an online game. You were facing bots and blowing crap up all night. I love Twisted Metal Black. It was one of my favorite games. I still remember bits and snippets of all the different character stories. That being said, I'm glad they didn't necessarily go with Twisted Metal Black for inspiration. I'm glad that they did their own kind of silly thing with the show. I thought it was just going to be like horrible and dark and depressing and all about how awful everyone's lives are. But it's fun. It makes you laugh. And
It's a
Anthony
comedy
Mackie-
first and foremost.
It's
for
a
sure.
comedy series, yeah.
Anthony Mackie to me was I went into it not particularly liking Anthony Mackie. I think he's kind of fine. He never really does anything for me. But after Twisted Metal, I like Anthony Mackie. He has some comedic chops on him. His timing is great, and seeing him really loosen up, I thought it was great, man. I thought Anthony Mackie could be a really good, front man. He almost reminded me of Will Smith with his type of his comedy timing and his sort of swag that he had about his character. So yeah, I'm over, man. Anthony Mackie won me over. The show gets a huge plus from me. Huge thumbs up. Fresh out the box, certified fresh out the box, 100%. What are you guys thinking?
So the short wise is probably one of the most entertaining things I've ever seen. Very entertaining, very funny, completely watchable. I watched all 10 in days, so I that kind of speaks for itself. Absolutely certified fresh. Definitely a big,
really strong 7 from me. It wants to be an 8 so badly.
I'd give it,
but 8. It is not. It's not. For me, there's just something there. The acting's a little campy. There's some plot holes and stuff that's just stupid, particularly the convoy and how it's just one truck, but it's an entire town. There's just some stupid stuff, but the show is stupid, so it's okay.
That's Gary. You hit exactly what I was going to get into, because when I was watching the first episode, and I realized what Anthony Mackie was doing with his character here, because I texted you and I said Anthony Mackie's direction feels like he was told to just act like you're in a cartoon show. Like that's what it feels like, because he is over the top, one-liners, just super cheesy, and I feel like that's probably most prominent in the first episode, and it's not as some of the comedy in the first episode I thought bordered on grating, but it never quite hit it, and it never does throughout the rest of the series. Like the comedy is decent, but I just had to quickly realize, like, oh, this is what this show is trying to be. Like, it is not a show that takes itself seriously at all. It's not trying to lay out all the rules for the, I mean, it does, there's rules, quote unquote, for this kind of post-apocalyptic world, but like not really. The thing I pointed out to Gary in the opening scene, I can spoil some things in the opening of the show in the first episode. In some of the opening scenes, Anthony Mackie's involved in a car chase, and he's going through a mall, and he's like drifting through mall hallways, and he points out at one point that there's a Foot Locker. He drifts by it. There is like a beautiful, fresh, new pair of Nikes, like purple and white, look like Air Force Ones that are out like on a display.
25 years after the end of the world. Just so
Right. It's like been over 20 years since the world ends. This just pristine pair of Nikes are there. He drifts by, grabs them, and then he's wearing them later. Like in later episodes, I noticed it was actually part of his wardrobe. He'd be wearing them. But my first thought was the logic thought of, there's no way that after 20 years in this world that those Nikes are just still sitting out there. This show doesn't give a fuck. It doesn't care at all. Like, it's a comedy first and foremost. There's a lot of these kinds of moments throughout where if you try to overanalyze or nitpick, you're going to find stuff, but the show does not care.
Yeah, I find a lot of times the answer is, and I quote, because it's Twisted Metal. Usually that's just the answer. Like if you have a question about the plot or about what's going on or about how it makes sense, the answer is because it's Twisted Metal. That's how it makes sense. That's what makes it work. Because it's Twisted Metal.
It's so Twisted Metal. It's fantastic. I don't know, man. It's really, really funny, but also, man, they managed to get really dark and show how messed up everything is.
And violent, very violent.
Incredibly violent. It's a brutal place to live. But I guess the humor kind of just makes it palatable. But, like, there's people who are, pretty much slaves that get, like, body parts chopped off when they do something wrong. They do all this, like, really bad stuff. But then there's this humor that kind of just makes it not that show.
How did you guys feel about Stephanie Beatrice's character?
I thought she was great. I loved Quiet. I thought that her and Anthony Mackie had just an insane amount of chemistry. I thought that, like, they... I don't know, man. Like, I felt their relationship. Like, it felt real. They seemed like they got along in real life, probably. Like, they... Either that or, man, they're good at acting. Their chemistry was off the charts.
I did think that her character was very unnecessarily the reason things went wrong over and over and over. She just continued to be kind of a screw up and then an asshole about it.
Yeah.
I thought her character was just written pretty poorly at times. Other than that, I thought her performance was great. She's basically the same character from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She's basically Rosa. And Rosa's funny, and I like her quips, but yeah, sometimes her character motivations and the things that she did, I was like, she's just sort of an asshole sometimes. Just a stupid asshole.
I mean, her character definitely starts off that way, and I agree that it was kind of like, come on, like, let's, like, get over it, but, like, I get it.
It was really, yeah, her character wasn't written particularly likable. I think they were just banking on the fact that she is likable for us to like that character.
I felt like she was a great counterpoint to the ridiculousness that was Anthony Mackie. Though.
That's fair. I think that they had good chemistry, and I'm like kind of in the middle with y'all. Like I liked her, and I liked her character of Quiet, and there's some interesting things about her backstory that I liked. And again, I thought they had chemistry. I don't know if I ever like was really rooting for the romantic angle between them, or if I really bought into it, but I also didn't really care enough.
Yeah, they were really toxic. Every time they would hook up, they would get into a huge fight and hate each other. They certainly should not have a romantic angle. They're a horrible couple.
Yeah, and the other part is like there's a in the second half of the season, I want to say it's like the 8th episode. There's kind of a backstory to Anthony Mackie and his car, because his car is almost a character in itself in this show.
His car's name is
Evelyn, and it goes into like his history with Evelyn and everything. And essentially, there's a point in the plot where like Evelyn is on the line, and Anthony Mackie wants to do what he can to get that car back. And it's clear in the writing and like the way you're supposed to interpret it, Stephanie Beatrice's character, Quiet, is supposed to be the voice of reason here. Of like, it is just a car, leave it, and like leave with your life and let's go. But like the way that the show had manipulated me into the relationship between Anthony Mackie's John Doe and Evelyn, I'm like, no, go save your car, bro. Like, go get your car. And I feel like they wanted you to be on her side, and I was definitely not on her side in that one moment. And this is just one moment in particular, pointing out, but then again,
I
like
was yelling at my TV during that point, and I was like, "You're the one who lost the car. You need to save it. It's right there. You can't leave now. You lost it." Oh man, yeah, I'm with you, Drew. I was on your side. Get the car. You're supposed to stay with the car. It's your fault.
Yeah.
Again, these are 30-minute episodes, and it moves so fast that anything you get hung up on like that, it just moves on to the next thing so quickly that like, you don't really have time to dwell on it.
It's Twisted Metal. Don't worry about it. I really loved that in the final episode, it was Twisted Metal. The whole season built to a final Twisted Metal scene, and I cheered and I laughed, and then Sweet Tooth got Harold, and it was even better, and I was just cheering. In the final episode, to me, I had this realization that was like, they made 9 episodes to try to explain why there's cars shooting at each other in a parking lot.
Yeah.
They did a great job. They really did. They added a plot to something that had no right to have a plot. You could have just put cars in parking lots and had them shooting at each other and just had me fill in the blanks of the plot, and that show would have been fine, But instead, they wrote a plot, and it's a fun plot, and it was a fun little journey. And like Drew said, it went fast. I thought that Stone was a fantastic bad guy, Agent Stone.
Yeah.
I was all about it. I think it's cool that they used John Doe. He's kind of a forgettable character from Twisted Metal Black. So when everyone asks, well, who is Anthony Mackie? And it's like, well, he's not really anybody. He's John Doe. John Doe was in Twisted Metal Black. His story is that he had a wife and kids, and he was an undercover FBI agent who infiltrated a cult, and the cult blew up a building, bombed it. And so it gave him amnesia, so he thought he only had memories of being in the cult and setting a bomb. So he thought he was this horrible person who joined this death cult and blew up a building. Then Calypso tells him he's an FBI guy and he has a family, and then he shoots him and kills him. So John Doe didn't have a great story. What they're doing with Anthony Mackie's character, I think, is pretty exciting. They actually gave him a past, but they did stick with the amnesia storyline.
Yeah. I was surprised. So I was doing a lot of research on Twisted Metal characters while watching the show to be like, who's made for the show or who are... and there were characters in the show that I was surprised were based on characters from the games. Like Stu and... Yeah, like Stu they were minor characters in like totally... Most characters in the show are... in almost a name alone put into the show. Like they've changed a lot of the backstories, which I think is good when you read about so like the crazy lore of the other games.
I should fight and argue because of how many times I've said that they should stick to the source material, but I think they made the right choice on this
right
one. I can't really put my thumb on why, but I really do think they needed to do something. I feel like Twisted
Metal's lore is a lot like Mortal Kombat. And I feel like Mortal Kombat did fine on screen, but like maybe it could use something extra. I feel like they added a story that was better for a TV show to this by a lot.
So it's funny that you bring up Mortal Kombat because that was the exact comparison that I was going to make. I actually liked this series more than the most recent Mortal Kombat movie that came out in 2021. But there's a lot of similarities in the sense of like the big review or like the big complaint about that Mortal Kombat movie was it's a Mortal Kombat movie without Mortal Kombat. Like it introduces you to the characters and they fight each other and things, and then that movie kind of leads off at the cliffhanger of like, oh, now, we're getting invited to the real Mortal Kombat tournament, and that's how the movie ends. And the Twisted Metal show, it's actually kind of a very similar setup where it's a season introducing a lot of characters. We get the big car climax fight at the end, and then it seems like it's setting up for the future of the series to be like within the Twisted Metal tournament, because the name Twisted Metal comes from the Twisted Metal tournament. Like that's what it is, almost like Mortal Kombat but with car combat.
Yeah.
So I think it's very similar setups.
It's because they shoot each other and crash and blow up, and then afterwards the remains are only twisted metal.
Yeah.
A lot of the main characters... So Quiet is created for the show. So Stephanie Beatrice's character is not based on anything from the games. She's a fully original character. But a lot of the other main characters, John Doe, Agent Stone, Raven, I want to say even Bloody Mary and Preacher... are all characters that originated from Twisted Metal Black, which is
Power.
She's from an earlier game.
Yeah, she drives the Volkswagen. I remember that.
But as Gary said, like Twisted Metal Black was really, really dark in tone, like kind of gothic, just very dark. And this movie lifts a lot of those characters, but puts them into a very light and energetic. Light maybe isn't the right word because there is a lot of violence and things here, but like it's a comedy.
It's hilarious violence. And speaking of hilarious violence, Sweet Tooth was...
I was gonna say we haven't even touched on Sweet
Tooth. We
haven't
touched on Sweet Tooth. Sweet Tooth was fantastic, so intimidating. Samoa Joe did a great job, and then Will Arnett, I feel, crushed it with the voice. It was really, really funny. I enjoyed his interactions with the other people, and I enjoy his journey. One of the things I feel they did really well is, like, they start in some of the episodes going and doing people's backstories, and, like, they kind of show you their journey. Sweet Tooth was particularly amusing. It was pretty funny. I was like, holy crap, that's crazy. And it was a great way for them to sort of expand on everybody very quickly. They covered so much ground with all these characters so quickly.
And Sweet Tooth isn't in every episode necessarily, but I feel like especially when you're binging it, as we were, I feel like anytime the show kind of starts to get into a lull, they insert a Sweet Tooth scene, and it like pumps you back up again. So it does a really good job with that from a pacing standpoint, because Sweet Tooth is certainly entertaining in the show, and as you mentioned, Samoa Joe is the physical embodiment of Sweet Tooth, but Will Arnett does the voice, and I agree that this combination ended up working really well. And my initial thought when I heard they were doing that was like, Samoa Joe has a good voice or whatever, like in his own right, give him a chance. But that being said, Samoa Joe's physical performance as Sweet Tooth is so memorable in itself that it's like I don't think that there's any negative on his side. Like, I don't know. He brought so much physicality to that, and mixed with Will Arnett's voice, it really is like a match made in heaven. I thought it was really well done.
So I'm famously not a fan of Will Arnett, and I didn't want to like that Will Arnett was doing it instead of Joe. I think Joe has an awesome voice. We've heard him cut promos for years. He sounds like a bad guy. He sounds like what Sweet Tooth should sound like. He looks like Sweet Tooth. He can act. But as I watched the series, I kind of came to the conclusion that I'm wrong this time, that it worked. And I think that the reason it worked is because Joe probably doesn't have comedic timing like Will does. And Sweet Tooth has to be hilarious for it to work. So I really think they needed Will Arnett's comedic timing. And even though he's kind of, in my opinion, cringy and hateable, Sweet Tooth is definitely... he is terrifying, and he's not necessarily supposed to be making you laugh because his jokes are funny. He makes you laugh because it's such a terrifying situation to be in, and it really does work. I read that Will Arnett, he's an executive producer, and he talked to Joe before and after and during the project about the character and bringing it to life and how the two of them would do it. And he watched dailies throughout the entire thing. So he was watching the show's dailies back, and he was voicing it to the body movements as well as he could. So he didn't phone in the performance. Basically, Will Arnett, I think he did give it his all from his perspective, too. I absolutely love Sweet Tooth, man. 10 out of 10 performance. I couldn't have asked for anything more from Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth stole the show, man. It was great.
And as wrestling fans, as Gary and I are, Samoa Joe is somebody that I've always thought is a very skilled wrestler. Like, he's very skilled from a technical in-ring perspective. But I hate to say this, like, he's not always the most entertaining wrestler, right? Like, sometimes in wrestling, being the best from a technical standpoint doesn't always translate to being the most entertaining to watch.
And he's also not the best speaker, nor is he in the best ring shape.
So he's just like, he's always been, it's a good point. Like, he's just always been a very interesting wrestling presence. And we're starting to see him get into more entertainment things. Like, he's done voice work. He's actually voicing King Shark in the Suicide Squad game whenever that comes out. And seeing him here, and there is something about wrestlers, though, that because of their sport, they have such control over their bodies and what they do. And I think we see this with Batista in the Guardians movies and other projects he does, like from a physical comedy or serious action perspective. Like, the body control is very important. And Samoa Joe, I felt like, really had that in this kind of silly role. Like, he was playing it big and theatrical, but he was also imposing and even had the eyes. Yeah.
His eyes were so good.
His eyes had to do all his acting, right? And so he did. He crushed it, man. He had the eyes. He had
murderer's eyes, dude. Like, I feel like he prepared for that role by murdering somebody.
Yeah,
he's just rare to be that impressed by a performance that's strictly physical. Talking about Samoa Joe in particular.
It was amazing.
Yeah. True. So, anything else we have to add about it? I mean, I'm high on it, obviously. I would like everybody to watch it. I would like a second season to be ordered. I need to see more Sweet Tooth.
Great cast. Absolutely. The setup for the second season was beautiful. I think that, like, this is one of those times where a second season is absolutely warranted.
Man.
And
like the last scene, I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but the last scene they like hint at a bunch of characters that would be in the second.
They did, and my boy was in there. I'm excited.
We might have the
My
same
boy was in
boy,
there,
because one
too.
of them I was very excited about.
We have a different boy, but you two have the same boy. But my guy's different.
Is our boy
Okay.
Okay.
Your guys' guy has wheels for hands.
Yes, that is
yeah,
true.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
My guy rides a motorcycle and has a red skull on the front.
Oh, nice.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, I'm excited for what those characters could be and what the next season could look like. And it hasn't been ordered by Peacock yet. I was just looking it up during this conversation. Oh, one more thing. How did you guys like the origin story for young Sweet Tooth?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. That.
Oh my
Johan
god!
touched on it briefly, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was good.
Yeah, when they were showing his was particularly hilarious. It was so good.
I also liked that it
dude.
wasn't something they had to keep going back to. They just showed this one scene, and you're like, okay, that's everything I needed to know about Sweet Tooth as a child.
My mom, like, saw that part. Like, she just was in the room and was like, oh, what are you watching? She was watching. She was like, oh my god, no!
Yeah. Oh my god is right. Yeah, that was pretty much my response too.
It like traumatized her.
God. Oh boy. Okay, everybody, please watch it. Just please, and then go to Google and then like it and then post about it on social media so that we get another season. Thank you.
That was going to be the last thing I touched on too. Is like I saw IGN actually reviewed this one pretty positively, which makes sense. They're a video game website primarily, but they review movies and TV shows, and this is based on a video game property, and they were high on it. I've seen other reviews that were less positive. We're positive. I guess the main thing is like this is on Peacock. That is one of the lesser subscribed to services or lesser watched services. Will this make it into the mainstream? I don't know, but I'm with y'all. I hope so, because the way they set up a second season, I want to see that second season.
It was one of the best shows of the year. Like, I'll say
I don't know if I'm that high on it, but I liked it a lot.
It was one of my favorite things I watched on TV this year, period.
Yeah, that's so. Again, I would love to say that like the show was like better quality, but it's not. It really is to me. It's like it's a 7 out of 10. There's something.
I'm with
missing.
you, Gary. I'd give it the same rating.
I give
Something
it
missing the production quality of it all. It just kind of seems like a crappy made-for-TV show. Like, I don't know. It just seems kind of out of time and out of budget or something. Something's just
I
quite
don't know,
a
man.
little off.
They had some pretty good effects, but yeah. I mean, it's definitely campy, and camp has that effect on movies and shows. But I really like camp. I don't know. It was one of the most entertaining things I've seen like ever, and definitely this year. I can't.
And
Really
I think
of
that
a lot
the
of
other
shows
thing
this
too,
year that I've really liked that much.
the longest any episode is like 31 or 32 minutes, and then they're as low as like 25 or 22 minutes. I think is the shortest of them, and there's only 10, and that was just the right choice. There's a world where this show would have been 10, 40 to 50 minute episodes or even an hour, and that would have been too much. This was just the perfect amount of episodes and time-wise for what it was. I thought that was a great decision, and shows like Ted Lasso should take note. So that's it. I guess that's it about Twisted Metal, right?
That's it.
Yeah, and a little bit about Ted Lasso there. at
That's
the end
all
with
I
his
had.
fade.
Sorry, I took a shot.
You sure did. So, talking about TV shows, every week I make you guys listen to just a little bit of this. Gemstones, Righteous Gemstones, Season 3 just came to an end. I just watched the finale. I did like a rock eyebrow, like all the way up, confused, like tilted my head, like what in the hell just happened? The whole season was going pretty good, and then the last episode is just like, not... and pretty much undoes the entire everything that happened. Long story short, this is the season where the Gemstones learn to get along. And the subplots of it, which I always really like, I always tell you guys the subplots are great, and they're, criminally balanced, and people might die, and they're really dangerous. But boy, by the end of it all, I was just like, that seemed like that subplot went effing nowhere. Otherwise, love the performances. Looking forward to Season 4 of Righteous Gemstones. I don't have a lot to say. I don't want to spoil anything, but I hope that you guys get around to watching it one day and we can all laugh.
I definitely plan to still. I thought you were going to be outright mad at me that I binged Twisted Metal this weekend, but still haven't started Gemstones.
Like 3 or 4 weeks ago, you told me you'd play Exoprimal with us when it came on Game Pass because it was free, and you still never played it, so I've just lost all faith in you at this point.
Exoprimal was in a very bad place for me as far as Diablo 4 and now Final Fantasy 16, but I'll get into that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I own up to that. It's pretty bad.
The other thing I watched, I'm just going to go back to back here because it's also on Max. Not to be confused with HBO Max, which no longer works if you try to launch that app. This is on Max, and it's something completely different. It's a different experience. How To with John Wilson, Season 3. Drew told me this is not a drill. Season 3, Episode 1 is now out. I watched it. Did you watch it, Drew?
I did watch it.
I'm surprised that you watched it. I thought you might wait for a while. This one was hilarious. It's how to find a public bathroom
in New York City, and boy, is there some disgusting imagery that they show of some public bathrooms in New York City.
As usual, this show, How To with John Wilson, it's an absolute hit, but you have to watch it. You have to pay attention to the screen. You can't be looking down at your phone because he's basically talking about nothing and doing nothing, but it's the editing and the interactions he has with people that make the show so funny and so awkward. If you're a fan of Nathan For You, which, I know Jahan has been a fan of some of Nathan Fielder's work, and we were all a fan of that show he did. I really think, How To for John Wilson has that Nathan Fielder type of feel. It has that awkward, put you off type of comedy. I love it. I will continue to watch Season 3. A highlight for Episode 1 of Season 3 was he's trying to how to find a public bathroom. He just goes around, finds bathroom. Then he finds a lady with a camper. He uses her bathroom, and then he asks if he can go with her to Coachella, and she's like, yeah, I guess. And so then he's just going on a road trip across the country to Coachella all of a sudden, and then he's not allowed to film it because another documentary crew has exclusive rights. So he films all this stuff that he can't show you as a viewer, and then goes back to like finding bathrooms. It's just hilarious to just be on the ride and be like, yeah, where's he go? What? This is happening? And then it's like, yeah, nope, I did, but I can't. Sorry. Just his narration, his editing, all of it's so funny.
There's
just
also
a good guy.
There's a good moment too where he talks about some of the self-cleaning bathrooms that were installed in New York, and he goes into one and he shows how you can trick it while you're inside of it, and he actually films the inside of what the cleaning process looks like, and it is the most insane thing I've ever seen. It was just crazy.
That was super funny. Him screaming the whole time was funny too. He's like, as it's going off.
Man, I gotta watch this.
Yeah, man. How To with John Wilson. I can't recommend it enough, dude. It really is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. It's a show I can go back to because it's just easy for your brain and it's funny.
I actually heard him talking to Conan O'Brien on Conan O'Brien's podcast.
I love that.
He's a really weird, interesting guy, man. It was a good conversation, and Conan was talking about the show and just talking about how weird it was. Definitely sounds up my alley.
I haven't seen every episode like Gary, but I've seen a few from the first season, and every now and then I'll throw one on. But I did see the new season was on, so I watched it. So I plan to watch the new episodes of this season as they drop, and then I'll occasionally go back and watch some of the old ones that I haven't seen yet.
I'm really glad that I have How To with John Wilson back, because I was not even a month ago I was Googling it. When's it going to come back? When what's happening? It was supposed to come out in December. It was ordered. It was paid for, and he just didn't deliver it to HBO. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they sued him or they got into an argument or if they just let him go because he's John Wilson and it finally came out. But that's what I assume happened, is they're just like, whatever, this weird documentary will get it to us eventually. But that's, I'm looking forward to it, man. More and more John Wilson. Give it all to me. I need like 10 seasons.
And then while we're still on the topic of TV shows, I haven't talked about this show yet because I was waiting till I finished season 2. But I watched The Bear season 2 after binging the first season and now watching the second. And this show is absolutely fantastic. I had heard the first season high praise about it at the time it came out. I finally got to it, and I thought it was really good. I thought it was maybe slightly overhyped when I had watched just the first season, but I still thought it was really good. The second season is not overhyped. Like, it is appropriately hyped. It is fantastic. It's better than the first season, I personally thought. The show gets elevated, especially around like episode 6. There's some big episodes that happen, and the show delivers. And I really love the characters in the show, and it looks like a lot of them are getting opportunities elsewhere. Like, the actress that plays Sydney in the show is the one that's voicing April O'Neil in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and she's in a movie called Theater Camp that's coming out, and she's in like a whole bunch of projects. And the main guy, Jeremy Allen White, who plays Carmi in it, is actually, Gary, you'll like this, he is starring alongside Zac Efron in a movie about the Von Erich family from wrestling.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I'll watch that. I'll watch that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, so and some pictures and stuff that have come out from it look really good. But anyways, that's beside the point. But yeah, The Bear season 2, as good as they say, just really loved the show, and also is a prime example for why weekly releases work. This show came out, and I think a lot of people that had seen the first season binged it, and then it has already fallen out of the conversation. And this show, each episode was so good that if this had been a weekly release, I feel like it would have been the conversation for every week, and much more deserving of it than, say, a season 3 of Ted Lasso. Yes, I have taken another shot at Ted Lasso, but deservingly so. So that's The Bear season 2. We talked about Haunted Mansion up front with the box office. I'll just say I did see the newest Haunted Mansion movie that came out from Disney this past weekend. I am one of the few, I guess, that did go see it. And I had really low expectations and actually enjoyed it. It's not amazing by any means, but it's better than it had any right to be, solely because of Lakeith Stanfield. If you like Lakeith Stanfield and you think he is an interesting actor, I do recommend that you seek this out, at least when it comes out on streaming or something, if you don't go see it in the theater, because he takes a character in this movie that could have been a nothing role and elevates it and plays it with a lot of layers in a movie that otherwise does not deserve it. So I enjoyed this movie a lot more than I expected to. That is Haunted Mansion 2023, which will probably be on Disney Plus within like 2 months or so. So if you, hopefully in time for the Halloween season. If they don't put that on Disney Plus in time for October, they are absolutely insane.
So that's what I was thinking. Maybe that's why they released it now, is so that it would be on Disney Plus in time for Halloween. Maybe they're releasing something else in theaters around that time and didn't want to compete with themselves.
The 90-day window would put it right at about Halloween weekend. So
maybe they think that will get them more Disney Plus subscriptions or something.
We'll see. And then y'all didn't list any video games this week, and I did, which I feel like is rare.
Well, I already took shots at you about Exoprimal, so you know what I'm playing.
That's fair. I finally jumped into Final Fantasy 16 on PS5, and I am really loving it so far. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy games, this one has the big epic story with way more action-oriented combat, more similar to something like Kingdom Hearts as far as the combat goes, but just with amazing graphics. And the thing that I like the most about this one is Final Fantasy 15, the previous main entry, kind of took like a modern sci-fi approach, and like you have cars that you drive around, and it's based more in cities and landscapes that you drive between. This new one, 16, goes way back more into like hard fantasy. And there's orcs and there's goblins and magic and things, and it really focuses on the icons, which are the big summons, and they're a big part of the story in a way that I'm really enjoying. So if you like really nerdy shit and, you know, high fantasy Final Fantasy games, Final Fantasy 16 is great for PS5 owners. So I just wanted to hype that one up because I'm really enjoying my time with it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, that ties it up for our Fresh Picks. So, hey everybody, thanks for watching episode 97 of Fresh Out the Podcast. I have been your board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Johananon. Find me on Blue Sky. Yeah.
It's me, Casualty CDG, and you can also find me on Blue Sky at Casualty CDG. That's the spot to find me. Pretty much on all the social medias. If you look around, you can find me. Come enjoy our tabletop role-playing game. Every Thursday and Friday, it's fresh out the box. It's me and Jahan. It's some guests. It's some games. We're laughing. We're crying. We're throwing up all over the place. Somebody pooped themselves. I won't say who. Join us every week.
I am Drew Munhausen, at Drew Munhausen on X or Twitter. I'm still over there doing stuff, but I am also on Blue Sky along with Gary and Jahan. So you can find me there. I think I'm at Drew Munhausen Blue Sky Social, whatever the name is. The naming convention is there, but I'm there. If you search D Munhausen, I'm there.
Did you realize that the same guy who created God of War created Twisted Metal?
I did not know that.
There
I
you
also
go.
did not know that. That was your fresh fact for the evening. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. Stay fresh.